Gaz, and we said we missed Gaz, and we missed this man, Kevin Walters, who joins us on the line. Kevy, good morning, mate.
Good morning, my fellow commentators. Yes, for sure. Yeah. Good old days at Fox.
Good old days.
And we had some great games up in Townsville, Kevy, that we did together, and in that little dog box up in the old Cowboys home ground. No, seriously, Kevy, sorry, we didn't mean to go there. And this, by the way, normally this is the time of the show that we have Throwback Thursday, so we might just take you down memory lane a little later, but we'll deal with it here and now. But no, do you miss the coaching and commentary? Any parallels, Kevy? Or is just one high pressure and the other one you just work with a bunch of gibberers?
Well, there's high pressure with both jobs, really, isn't there? I mean, when you're live to air and you've got to get your words out right and make some decisions on what you're going to say. But coaching's certainly a lot different. But I enjoy both worlds, I've got to say. A lot less pressure, working in the commentary box, particularly with professionals like you two. When I used to make the errors, you'd cover them up and smother them over and just take the lead. So yeah, coaching's a different beast altogether. But I'm really enjoying it, even though this year's been a little bit challenging in different ways. It's all a new world for all of us here at the Broncos, and the expectation's always there. So we're trying to remove that expectation and just play some footy, which if we do that, we've got a good side here, so we'll be hard to beat.
Kev, we interviewed Ivan Cleary earlier this week, and we've had a number of our listeners weigh in on Benji Marshall, just the state that they're in at the moment, the Tigers, and we had a caller say, well, he's inexperienced and it makes it tough. And I said, well, you can't argue that is fact, isn't it? That Benji only had a year as an assistant, then got the job as the head coach the following year. They've only won 4 games, and we were talking about the changes that would happen in a person as a coach. Can you cast your mind back to when you started as an assistant coach? If you had been throwing the reins in year 2 and said, "Here, Kev, you're the head coach now," you talk to us about that.
Yeah, well, obviously you think you're ready and able, you believe that you are, but you're not. And I was an assistant in different roles and head coaching roles in different capacities for 20 years, Brandy. And still yet to experience what happened to us this year as a head coach. With losing 6 in a row, that's tough going. And all sorts of things start going through your mind, but you've got to just believe in what you're doing and believe in the players that you have. And that's what, if this would have happened to me, in my first year of coaching here at the Broncos, I'm not sure. We never got to 6 in a row that we lost. It might have been 4, I think, was the maximum. But, it is tough going. And I do feel for Benji in his first year, that I'm sure he's got good people around him to get him through. And that's what you need as a head coach in particular, because it can become, very lonely, not only when you're winning, but also more, when you're losing, it becomes, it all basically, you feel like it's coming down on you, and you've got to get good people around you to take that pressure off and make sure that you're heading in the right direction.
Now, you know what sort of bloke Royce Simmons is, and he's pretty,
tremendous,
tremendous bloke. But I saw the change in him. When I went back to Penrith to finish my career. And so do you think, can you and the people around you see changes in you as, you've gone through this period of 6 losses, which is unprecedented? Yeah.
Well, I believe I've handled it really well. And as I remember, back when I first started at the Broncos, and we won 7 games for the year. So my wife certainly noticed the difference in me there. She noticed the change in my moods and my well-being. I was cranky. Yep. Couldn't find a way anywhere to sort of get some pleasure or some joy. And it's tough going. But again, if you've got good people around you, my family, we're a rugby league family. I've got 5 kids, and they're all very supportive. Even the dog, Benji's supportive. He likes walking with me of an afternoon, so I get some pleasure in that as well. So. Yeah, very fortunate. And I'm sure Benji is, and all coaches need that support network around them. People they can call on, rely on, trust to keep them going, in the right direction.
Sorry, so you walked so what was the dog's name?
He's Benji. Yeah,
he's Benji. No,
he's not going so well either at the
moment. Get Benji on, he walks Kevy the dog. Kevin. Benji's got a dog called Kevin. Who calls their dog Kevin? Anyway, Kevy, so for Broncos fans listening, and indeed other rugby league fans assessing the chances of the runners-up from last year, and I think everyone had Brisbane either in their top 4, certainly in their 8, but right at the moment, you are sitting outside the 8. In fact, it is 4 points out of the 8. How concerned should they be? Are you ready to go this last 7 rounds and find your 100% best?
Well, I believe so, 100% in this team that we have. We need to keep them all on the park, obviously. That's the first thing. And but if we can maintain our team, look, I'm very confident we can go better than last year. It's only we've got 5 or 6 games left. We haven't got to string 20 good games together. We've got to string 5 or 6 and then into finals. So this team is more than capable of achieving that. Given we've got Adam Reynolds back, and everyone saw the difference last week. And as a coach, you know how important your number 7 is, and we saw it with Penrith as well. If Nathan Cleary doesn't play for Penrith on the weekend, they don't win. And they're the premiers. So it's just cold hard facts. You need your best players to do well, and we've got good depth at the Broncos, and we need that depth. But at the end of the day, if you want to be successful and win competitions, you need your best players, and that's a simple fact.
Yeah. No one's winning a comp if they haven't got their best players on the field. And Reynolds has returned at the perfect time, Kevin. You just saw the unlocking of Ezra Mam and Reece Walsh. Not as much pressure on them, but that makes them more dangerous. But you have to be at your best, because even though when you go through your run home, it's not that difficult. It doesn't seem on paper that difficult, but paper means nothing these days, does it? Because
it doesn't.
You do play all the Queensland sides.
Yes, and Brandy, and also all the teams we're playing are in contention or in the 8 or in the 4. We've got Storm, the last round. We play Redcliffe, who are the Dolphins, who are they're thereabouts, or 5th or 6th or wherever they are. The Cowboys up in Townsville. So there are some. The Titans are still in contention, and this week against the Bulldogs. So the opposition's ready to go as well, which is great. It's going to be an excellent finish, to the season for us. And when we get through that period, we're going to be ready for finals, I would have thought.
Kevy, I'm coming up there on Saturday to call the game for Fox League, the 3 o'clock game. I'll bring along a Mr. Voss candle for you, Kevy, just because you might need that little bit of fragrance in your life, scent, sophisticated scent. You're not the ticket seller, but look, it's rare that Brisbane play a 3 o'clock game at home. So what are you expecting? Canterbury, good form, top 8 side. Could we have 30, 40,000? I don't know. Saturday, 3 o'clock. You tell me.
No, there'll be 40-odd thousand there again. It's a perfect time for families. The Saturday afternoon time slot. So we're expecting 40,000 plus at the Broncos, and Bulldogs are having a great season themselves. So should be a great matchup. I'm really looking forward to putting ourselves against again a team that's been well entrenched in the top 8 for most of the season. Really, they've been great improvers this year. The Bulldogs, and they'll be a tough outfit for us on Saturday. But if we get it right, we're going to be very hard to beat, and we've got to get it right. That's my job as the coach, and the senior players have got to play their part in that as well. And that's my thoughts on it.
And you didn't have the luxury of resting those players, your Origin players, that backed up against the Newcastle Knights last week.
No.
Incredible effort from he never puts in anything less. Patrick Carrigan, who left Suncorp Stadium on Wednesday night, in a moon boot, and then rocks up and plays against the Knights.
Yeah, that was an amazing effort from Paddy. He's one tough hombre. When you talk about mentally tough, he's physically tough and mentally tough. And we saw him, get through 80 minutes of that State of Origin game, which is probably the most brutal, Origin we've seen. He actually hurt the ankle in the 3rd or the 4th minute of the game. And I noticed that on the vision at half time, he had his boot off, and I thought, what's happening here? And he rolled out 40 minutes, in the second half. So he's been very good for us, and one of the reasons why we can, I believe, and that's why I get a lot of faith and trust in these guys. But they want to go after it, and they want to be successful too, not only at Origin level, but also in clubland, which they haven't. Haven't won a trophy here for a long time, but it's about winning. This weekend, that's all we got to focus on, is 1 week at a time. The old cliche, but it's particularly true for us, at the moment. So that's what we'll go with.
We can live with that. Pat Carrigan, by the way, has a milestone game this week. Now, Brandy, we do have an intro. Kevy, you need to know that this is normally Throwback Thursday. So we just want to get you, if you can, Kevy, with your precious time, we just want to throw a list, like a fast money question from your career, but we do need to go with the Throwback Thursday intro to make it official.
Let's go.
So let's go back into the time tunnel now, folks.
On Breakfast with Vossy and Brandy. Throwback Thursday.
Kevin Walters steps and gets away. It's a try. Kevin Walters.
Here they come.
Adjacent to the uprights.
10 metres out.
Back in the day, Kevy Walter. Now, Kevin, part of a famous family with the brothers, your twin, Kerrod, Steve, they're in Ipswich. Tell us about the backyard footy days, Kevy. Can we start there? How competitive? Did anyone ever lose an eye? Did anyone get something whacked over
Just
their
eyebrows.
head? Yeah,
Someone
Someone lost an eyebrow. What happened in those games?
No one lost an eye, but it was the older brother and me against the three other boys. So Stephen, Kerrod, and my brother's a year older than me, Andrew, against Brett and I. And Brett, we all had Sydney teams that we used to, like and follow. And Brett was Manly, Bob Fulton. I was the Jets, Tom Rodonigus. Kerrod used to like Manly. He was, I think, Terry Randall. Stephen liked Steve Rogers and Rod Reddy from the Dragons. And Drewy, it was Andrew's team. I forget who Drew's team was, but yeah, we loved watching the Sydney League on the telly. And after it finished, we'd go out and play in the backyard for hours. In fact, my mum invented the sin bin because she used to sit there and watch us play. And if it got a bit heated, she would put the hose on us and just that stopped. You had to go and sit in the neighbour's yard next door for 5 minutes and cool down before you come back into the game and re-enter the game. So yeah, it was terrific growing up. Lots of bumps and bruises. Not a lot of homework got done, I've got to say, but it worked out pretty well for all of us in the end with our careers. And it was a great upbringing in the Walters household in Ipswich.
Now, Kevy probably doesn't remember this, but I was actually part of a backyard footy game as a 12-year-old at the Walters house. We were on St Dom's. We're on St Dominic's College. We had a reciprocal deal with Ipswich brothers, and we go up there, and I got billeted out with his name was Kenny Crane, and I remember Kenny said, "Yeah, remember the Cranes?" So Kenny Crane, who I was billeted with, said, "Let's go round to this house and we'll play a bit of footy there." So we went. I tagged along, went round, and it just happened to be the Walters house. So I was as a 12-year-old. Stephen is my age, I think. Kev, I think Steve's my age. Kevy's a couple of years younger than me, but there I was in the Walters.
That's amazing.
Footy.
Do you remember that, Kevy? Yeah. Brandy remembers it. You don't remember, Kevy.
I do remember St Dominic's coming up and playing, against them, obviously, and but I don't recall that moment, Brandy. But I'm sure it happened because our backyard was known for, if you want a game of footy, come over and join the team. So and the Cranes were good family friends, of the Walters. So that makes sense to me. I hope we had you on our side, Brandy, because back then I remember you were pretty quick, as you did throughout your whole career. So, and you need to be quick in the backyard, stepping the clothesline and the pineapple tree and whatever else
obstacles.
Yeah, definitely.
Kevy, the fact that the Broncos weren't around when you first came onto the scene. Could things have been different? Could you have, you ended up at Canberra. Could you have stayed where you were at the time, or was it just pressing? No, I had to get into the bigger league. Queensland had their own competition, domestic comp, but the New South Wales Rugby League was the focal point. Was it pressure? You thought, no, I have to go now. I've got to give it a crack.
Definitely, I had to go now. When the Broncos weren't even thought of before, I went to the Raiders in '87, so signed at the end of '86. Went down with Wayne Bennett and Peter Jackson, and there was a third import back in those days. There was
Gary
only
Belcher.
Gary Belcher, of course. Oh, no, he went the year before. He was there
from
the year before,
yeah.
So you can only have 3 Queenslanders per club each year. That's a rule that Ron McCall sort of brought in. And the Broncos weren't even thought of, weren't even an idea. So I thought, well, I want to go and see what this big league's like and play against all these guys that I've watched on telly for so long. It was a great experience. And then the Broncos came back in, and in front of me was Laurie Daly and Ricky Stewart. They were sort of the two halves, and I thought, well, this is a bit of a roadblock. They're not, they're the same age as me, these boys. So if I want to do something, and I went back to Brisbane mainly to get back with family. And I played a lot of footy with Kerrod and Alf coming through, and I thought, well, maybe if something happens to the King at some stage, I could flip in there and maybe get my position there. So it did work out really well. It wasn't a big risk coming home, but coming into the Broncos, they had so many great players. It was, I backed myself, I guess, and got through in the end with some great coaching from Wayne and good support, from Alf and Kerrod and all these guys. They were playing international football, and I was, basically in and out of first grade, more reserve grade than first grade at the Raiders. So, it was great to get back home and play some footy with those guys.
And of course, Origin was a big part of your playing career, Kev. 20 times for Queensland for a decade. And you mentioned last Wednesday night's game. Has there been a more brutal game where the start didn't stop for as long as it did?
No, I'm sure all of us that have played at that level, even Vossy, you've called so many games. That's the best I've seen as far as just belting the living daylights out of each other. I've never seen anything sort of like it, and it was brutal. And for 80 minutes, it didn't stop. Normally through our era, Brandy, the first 10 minutes were pretty tough, and then it sort of died down to it was manageable. Yeah. But that I don't know how they put themselves through it. It's amazing.
Hey, Kevy, there's lots of text coming through. You'll love this one. Kevy, a question from a listener. This is totally out of notice and away from Throwback Thursday. Have you bought sunscreen for the team? Because they're not used to playing 3 p.m. games. It's a question for you.
What's that, sorry?
Have you bought sunscreen for the team, some suntan lotion for the team for this Saturday's game? You're not used to playing, Saturday. 3 p.m. You thought of that?
No, I haven't thought of that, but it's our winter's beautiful. We got 20 degrees.
Yeah.
You won't get burned.
Preston's Rooster says, "Hey guys, I absolutely hate the Broncos, but I have the most utmost respect for Kevy. He seems like a genuinely nice bloke. When he's interviewed, he doesn't dance around questions and answers honestly. It's quite refreshing compared to other coaches with cliched answers." So there you go, a wrap from the Preston's Rooster, Kevy. Is there anything about coaching you don't like, Kevy? Apart from losing and injury, but is there anything about the job, like the actual job, that you don't enjoy?
Definitely. 2 things, losing first and foremost, and second thing is telling a player that he's not in the team. That's always a tough one. That I always try to be honest. Well, I'm always honest with the players, and every decision that I make here at the Broncos is based on the team, not on the individual player. So sometimes you have to make those tough calls, and they are tough ones, but I feel if you're honest and upfront, that's the best way to go about it. I think most coaches would agree that's the toughest part of coaching, is telling someone they're not in the team.
Yeah. All right, Kevy. Well, let's leave it.
That would be tough.
Let's leave it with this. The greatest moment as a player, Kevy, for you, because at Throwback Thursday, we always like to have a banger to finish. Well, from your illustrious career, and there's a lot of grand final success, and there was World Cup final success, there's Origin success, the greatest moment from your playing career, the enjoyable moment you'd like to relive, Kevy?
That's tough. I'm going to say either the 92 grand final, which was the first one in Brisbane, or the 2000 one, which was my last, and I was captain, and that was just before the Olympics, and I was the oldest player by a mile in the team, and I just came through in that year with a heap of good young players: Gordon Tallis, Brad Thorne, Shane Webke, Petro Sivanasiva, Darren Lockyer, Ben Eichen was in that team. We had Wendell Saylor. It was a magnificent team. No salary cap in those days, of course. It was out the window, but it was a great team, and to leave there, as a player on with a grand final and as captain was really special for me and my family as well.
Well, you had an outstanding career, Kevin. I was lucky enough to tour with you and play plenty of footy with and against you, and enjoyed all of it. Mate, you got a big 7 weeks coming up. Starts with the Dogs this weekend. We wish you all a success, and always love chatting with you.
Yeah. Thank you, guys, and love chatting to you guys too. Brandy, you're pretty good in your career. And Vossy, you've taught me so much about commentary. I still sit at home listening to you guys and critiquing you. You'll get a text every now and then from me, a sneaky text, telling you how to do your job. So keep it going, boys. We love our game, don't we?
We do. We certainly do. We're very lucky. We've never worked a day in our life. Kevy, I think you're working harder than us, actually. Kevy Walters, the Brisbane coach, rugby league legend, and he is for what he achieved in his career, and you just touched on there, from 92 to 2000. Mate, the World Cup final, I will say this, and people who sort of say, how good a player was Kevy Walters? Was he? Go back and watch that World Cup final at Wembley, where in a heartbeat, Kevy switches from open side to blind side to set up Steve Renouf to score the try that wins the game. It is a brilliant piece of rugby league designed by Kevy Walters, and it's a hell of a moment. So go back and watch that, Kevy. There you go. I know you were still on the line. We were blowing a bit. We weren't directly blowing smoke up your Jaminda there, but you're still on the line. You haven't gone. Go away, Kevy.
I've got to go.
Have we got something to do?
Go. See ya.
Go.